Hello, everyone. First of all, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to look at my video here in our discussion board. We're in chapter 24 in our books, Church History in Plain Language, the fourth edition by Bruce Shelley, and we'll be studying, looking over chapter 24 in the wild boar in the vineyard. This is circulation around Martin Luther and the time of Reformation and his challenging of the church, his challenging of the method, the ideology, the beliefs, and all these things were very challenging to the norm of the church at this time. The document that Pope Bull, that was named after a seal or a bull. And Luther was born in 1483, and the son of a Saxon miner who was caught in a thunderstorm, and he was knocked to the ground. And at that time, he called out to a nun, a Catholic nun, and he asked to be saved. And they said if he was to be saved, he would become a monk. And upon him being saved from that, he was a man of his word, and he became a monk, and he dedicated his time to studying the scripture. And Martin Luther found the love he sought through the study of scriptures. And because of that, he began to see things and a little bit different as he began to study the word and study scriptures. He didn't see things as the Catholic Church seen that and as the leadership seen it as far as the Pope. And when we look at the beginning of this section, it talks about Pope Bull and him being upset with Luther and calling, Luther's writings false and calling it scandalous and offensive and all these things, and even seductive. And upon Luther receiving the copies of these documents that had that seal on it and that started the writing a wild boar in the vineyard, upon the sixth day, he read more. He kind of led more of a protest, and some students, they began to burn the Bible and burn certain paperwork of theologians. And not only that, he came against, the beliefs of those popes and those leaderships, and they didn't like this. And the one thing I love that, saying almost like a movie when you're reading this, Martin Luther said, hey, look, they can burn our stuff, we can burn their stuff. And that's exactly what he did. It was very challenging during this time you got to realize that, something that churches have been doing for so long. The Catholic leadership has been doing for so long. The Pope had been in positions of leadership and power for so long. And now you have Martin Luther challenging these beliefs. Martin Luther saw it clearly to his mindset. He saw it clearly now. And man is saved only by his faith in the merit of Christ's sacrifice. By Jesus Christ on the cross. That's the only way man is satisfied. And it says here, the cross alone can remove man's sin and save him from the grasp of the devil. And Luther had come to his famous doctrine of justification by faith alone. So, armed with his newfound understanding of faith, Luther began to criticize the theological of indulgence in his sermons. His displeasure increased and was noticeable throughout Rome, throughout the Catholic Church. He is now challenging the leadership there. And they didn't like this. They called him everything. You name it, they was calling him. He was a man now being outcast by the church. And not only that, the Catholic and the Protestant had now a line had divided them. And to this day, we are still, feeling that division here on Martin Luther reform and his him going against the church. He argued that Rome's sacramental system held Christians captive. He attacked the popes at their highest for depriving the individual Christians of freedom to approach God directly by faith without meditation of priests. He set forth his own views of sacraments. Wow. So you mean to tell me we don't have to go and confess before a priest? We can just do this and to our God? That was absurd to them. And and not only that, they were having banquets to help build churches, and not only that, they were doing other things to indulge themselves. And Martin Luther was not he was not in agreement with that. Martin Luther was nowhere in agreement with that. And in June 1520, Pope Leo Leo issued his bull condemning Luther, giving him 60 days to return from his sinful course. And they was going to exile him and abolish him. The church needed pastors and dignitaries. Most of the ministers and Saxons around the Jersey abandoned not having sex. Monks and nuns also got married, and even exhorting other marriages. Luther himself finally agreed to marry a nun. And upon that time, Luther being exiled, he was saved from his arrest and death by the Prince of Duke Frederick of Wise, who gave him some type of sanctuary. By 1530, when the Synod of Conference of Reformation led convents in Augsburg to draw upon a common statement of faith, leadership from the movement had begun to pass out Luther's hand. The reform was still an outlaw, even though he was still an outlaw. He says the reformer was still an outlaw. He's talking about Luther, and was not able to attend. But it still was going on. By the time of his death in 1546, Luther had paved the way and made such a big change in the Catholic Church, in the Protestant Church, and in Christianity at this time. There was a big transformation. Not only by Christianity, but the churches in itself had been a change. So Luther was a big example and a big influence in the Reformation and the change of the Protestant Church and Catholic Church, and his challenge and the great statement that it's not by faith alone, and the burning of the Bibles and all these things that he went against. But we just, into this day, in the day right now where we're standing at, Pope has done a great, and has had a great influence in churches today. So I truly think the reading that we've had, and I really enjoyed this reading about Martin Luther and all that he's done for the church. And again, I just say thank you guys for taking a moment to this.